So The Last of Us TV show has officially wrapped its season finale, and fans are looking ahead not only to season 2, but also to the potential of what is Naughty Dog's next game. Now, an article just dropped based on an interview with Neil Drukmann where he talks about their next game, but it might not be The Last of Us Part 3. If that news is disappointing to you, you are not alone. What's up, everyone? That guy right here with another video, and I wanted to talk about The Last of Us specifically for a number of reasons. Obviously, the most important one being that The Last of Us season finale just dropped. I watched it, full review for the season coming soon, and I wanted to talk about this article because they got a chance. You know, this article comes directly from Kotaku, by the way, and it would appear that, you know, some people have gotten a chance to talk with Neil Drukmann, the co-creator of the show, as well as the creator of The Last of Us. And yeah, it would appear that Naughty Dog is already fast and well underway for their next title. However, unfortunately, their next title may not be The Last of Us Part 3, despite fans obviously wanting nothing more than that. I don't understand why why they wouldn't just make a Last of Us 3. Obviously, that's what people want. You know, just give the people what they want, right? I don't know. Either way, you know, if their next game ends up being amazing and it's something that they're excited about, then it is what it is. Anyway, we're going to read this article, or at least bits and pieces of it, and I'll give you my general thoughts at the very end. So it says that The Last of Us co-creator on studio's next game after the show. The game and show's co-creator also talked a bit about whether or not a certain Pearl Jam song is likely to arrive in season 2. We all know what that song is if you guys played the sequel. So with a wildly successful TV adaptation, The Last of Us has done the unthinkable and proven that it is possible to make a good show based on a video game. And I love that The Last of Us show was the one to actually do that. Obviously, this has been tested and tried and failed in the past, but I love the idea that The Last of Us was the game to really break the mold on this and get people excited that a game can release as a show and be just as good, if not more popular. So I love that. So add to that the recent remake of the first game smashing sales records, and surely you must be thinking this is momentum that will lead to another single-player Last of Us game. Now, obviously, we already know that the Last of Us multiplayer game is coming, but the question is, what is their next single-player story? According to series co-creator Neil Drukmann, however, that's not what developer Naughty Dog is working on right now outside of an unannounced project and the upcoming The Last of Us multiplayer title, often referred to as Factions. Like I said, we know that Factions has been underway for a while. I expect that the next Naughty Dog game is very much going to be the Factions game, but shortly after that, we may experience a new journey. I don't think that that's going to come in the form of, you know, Uncharted. I don't think they're going to make another Uncharted. I think another Uncharted will get made. I just don't know if it's going to be by Naughty Dog. I think they might hand that responsibility on to someone else. We'll see. So in the last few decades, Naughty Dog has built its brand as one of the most ambitious and successful developers of PlayStation exclusives. This is a fact. Enjoying great success with the iconic Crash Bandicoot series on the first console, following that with Jak and Daxter in the PS2 era, which for some reason they still refuse to make a sequel or follow-up to that, and then going on to make the much-loved Uncharted game in the Last of Us series for PS3 and PS4. It's hard not to get excited over a Naughty Dog title, but while the developer has turned single entries into series successful franchises with multiple sequels, a single-player follow-up to 2020's The Last of Us Part 2 is reportedly not what the team is actively working on. I don't know. So it says Naughty Dog is not working on The Last of Us Part 3. In an interview with Kinda Funny following the season finale of HBO's The Last of Us, Drukmann reflected on the changes the studio has made, which includes a creative process that avoids wasting time working on things the team isn't actively interested in. And sometimes that includes not chasing the momentum of past successes. Asked by Blessing Adoye Jr. whether the momentum of the successful TV adaptation means that Naughty Dog feels pressure to keep hitting these home runs, Drukmann said, I am very lucky that I don't have to think like that. I joined the studio that was already so successful that we could be kind of prima donnas and just do whatever we want. I know not everyone has that privilege, and it's not something I take lightly. So at the end of every project, we purposely explore several different projects. Some of them might be a sequel and then a bunch of new ideas. And then we ask, where do our passions lie? Because that's the fire that has to sustain for years to come. And if you pick the wrong projects and then you burn out from that idea because you weren't passionate about it, you're fucked. That's how I think you make mediocre anything, if you lose your excitement for it. And I think that's obviously a really insightful thing to say. Obviously that, you know, that there's some power in that. Obviously you're going to spend years on a game. You definitely have to be passionate about it. You should be. You have to be passionate because you're going to be doing that game, creating that game for the next couple years. And, you know, obviously you'd want it to be a hit. Drukmann has made similar statements previously regarding speculation over a possible sequel to Part 2. While he's never shut the door on it entirely, he has said that if we can't come up with something, we have a very strong ending with Part 2, and that will be the end. You know, and to that I have to disagree. I don't know. I do think that The Last of Us Part 2 has a very strong ending, and that could potentially be the end of that. But I do think it is a missed opportunity to continue exploring opportunities in which Ellie could find happiness. You know, look past her demons, look past the things that have haunted her, look past some of the decisions that she's made specifically in Part 2, and try to find some sense of peace. I don't think that the game needs to end on just such a sad note. Now, you could say that The Last of Us Part 3 ends in a beautiful way, and I guess, you know, I would argue that, yeah, I guess so. There is a poetic justice in all of it, but, you know, I do think that creating a Last of Us Part 3 in which at the end of that game, Ellie actually does find peace and she does find happiness. I think that's what that would make, I don't know. I think it would make a lot of people happy. And I think that The Last of Us is about love, and it is you know, obviously, you know, both games have ended in you know, relatively strong tragedies. I think that there is an opportunity that they could, you know, create something that kind of takes it in a different direction and does something where there is love at the end and a light, you know, and that there is positivity. And I don't know. That's my 2 cents on it. I even thought of an idea in which Ellie could potentially, you know, find a purpose, and, you know, she finds a new opportunity where there's this different faction that is making a cure, and maybe at the end of the game she does get the opportunity that was taken from her in the first game, and there's kind of a full circle moment where she actually does end up sacrificing herself for the sake of the world. And actually, you know, in that moment the choice is hers. You know, I don't know, that's just one of my ideas. Anyway, the article continues on and saying, as far as whether we come back to Joel or Ellie or not, or whether we come back to the world or not, that's all up in the air. I can tell you there are people in the studio that would love to come back to these characters, but the only way we would do that is if we had something new, something meaningful to say, because the last thing we would want to do is repeat ourselves. That's true. The article, or this part of the article, ends with but of course many don't want it to end, or they don't want it to be the end. Fortunately, though, there is some new Last of Us coming, just not a single player game, though he acknowledged that fans really want The Last of Us Part 3 and that he can't say what single player game Naughty Dog is actively working on next. The thing that we are most excited for, according to Drukmann, is not another sequel to The Last of Us. Drukmann did say that Naughty Dog expects to share more information about the upcoming multiplayer entry into The Last of Us, however, which he previously described as the most ambitious project we've ever done. Drukmann described the upcoming multiplayer entry into The Last of Us universe as the first Last of Us game that he's not primarily the primary writer for or director for. He stated that this lets him see it more from the side and play more of a producer role and more of a mentor role, and that to him is exciting. All in all, guys, I do think that A Last of Us Part 3 will happen at some point. However, it does appear that they're currently working on a title, and if what I just read was any indication, it would appear that whatever their next project is that is well underway, it isn't The Last of Us Part 3. Now, I think that of course, that could be a giant debate, right? There could still be an opportunity in which, you know, they're just trying to fool everybody. They actually are working on The Last of Us Part 3. You know, who's to say? But I do, if I'm reading into this and not reading into it too much, I think that the writing's on the wall, that they are making a new project. They're working on something else, The Last of Us multiplayer game, and a new project that they, you know, have yet to announce. And it is not going to be The Last of Us Part 3. So it's not to say that won't happen. It's not to say that, you know, Part 3 isn't coming. I think that they will make a Part 3, especially if The Last of Us Season 2 ends up being even more of a success than the first season. They got to make a Part 3. You know what I mean? I can't imagine Sony isn't nudging them and saying, hey, you guys are going to make a Part 3, right? Because, I mean, that's kind of a home run. You'd be really sitting on a golden goose if you decided, hey, we're just never going to make a Part 3. I think that there is more story to tell in Ellie's story. I would love for them to continue that. Again, I don't know. We'll have to see. Now, in terms of my predictions for what the next game could be, I either think it's going to be a new IP, or it's going to be them jumping into a game that they maybe haven't jumped into in a long time. I hope it's Jak and Daxter. I've been personally pitching and hoping and praying for a Jak and Daxter game for a long time, since the PS2. And I think the PS3 game got a remaster at some point that I never got into. It was like a Jack remaster collection. And outside of that, guys, I mean, we've not, PS3 didn't have a brand new Jak and Daxter. PS4 didn't have a brand new Jak and Daxter. Now here we are in PS5, and it's like, guys, there's fans out there, a lot of fans that really want a new Jak and Daxter game. And it's like you can't look at The Last of Us, or, or not The Last of Us, but you can't look at Insomniac and the success that they had bringing in a brand new next gen Ratchet and Clank. And that game was actually wildly successful. People loved it. And think that a Jak and Daxter game couldn't work in this climate. I feel like if they are going to jump into something new, they have an IP that's been sitting there for over a decade that they just haven't talked about. They haven't touched. And I think that that's a really missed opportunity. So in my vote obviously is with Jak and Daxter. I hope that they're making a new one. Again, we're going to have to wait and see. But it looks like, yeah, it does look like it is not going to be The Last of Us. And that makes me a little sad. But again, there's still hope. I think The Last of Us Part 3 is coming, just not within the next couple years. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy this, let me know down in the comment section below. Let me know what your thoughts are. What game do you want to see Naughty Dog make? I don't want to hear the Uncharted. I don't think an Uncharted is going to happen. But if it was, I mean, that'd be awesome. Anyway, drop a like on this video if you do enjoy. Subscribe if you're new here. All that good YouTube stuff. As always, my name is That Guy Rye, and I will see you in the next video.